If we were transported back 50 years, Victor, I wonder how many, not even college students, high school students may have read some of the Odyssey, may have read the Iliad, knew who Aeneas was, knew who Agamemnon was, would know these great characters from classical literature. But my gut tells me if you're entering Harvard, this is news to you. Well, actually, what you were talking about with Sammy on the most recent podcast, the actress who's the star of the new movie is totally, and she's a Yale graduate,
Yes,
and
Lupina Nyong'o. She said something. I couldn't quite believe that. She got her master's in theater arts at Yale, and she said she had never read the Odyssey before. And she's 42. And I thought, well, how is that possible to come out of her undergraduate institution? I'll remember in a second, was excellent. She went to Yale, but I taught 21 years at Cal State Fresno, Humanities 10, Introduction to Western Humanities. We started with Homer. So I would either have the Iliad, but mostly I taught the Odyssey because it was much more of an adventure story and easier to understand for most students. But I think I had 50 students, and I repeated in the spring semester. That was 200 a year. So, excuse me, 100 a year, and for 10 years that would be 1,000. So I had 2,000 students at Cal State University taking that class, and most of them were from families below the median income, and most of them were either part of the poor Oklahoma diaspora or Mexican American who, first or second generation, or from Southeast Asia during the influx after the Vietnam War. So my point is, they weren't from old families, or they weren't at a privileged institution. So, and yet they had experience with the Odyssey, and they were very good students. And then I taught that maybe we would rotate our Greek. I taught that in Greek maybe 5 times. So when I hear this actress and she says that she has never read it, well, that's okay. But then she starts opining on what's wrong with it. And she says that it doesn't have enough feminist characters. And I thought to myself, well, let's count them up. Who's the main character? Let's just look at the male characters. Well, we can get rid of the 20 suitors, and people like Antinous or Eurymachus, they're awful, and they're portrayed that way. And how about Odysseus's own crew? They're wild, they're mercurial, they do things, don't eat the cattle of the sun, they do it. Circe turns them into pigs, blah, blah, blah. How about the male gods? Well, Zeus, it seems to me, and Poseidon are vindictive and mean, and it's Athena who is the patron of Odysseus, and she is the calm, wise, stern woman. Maybe she represents someone Homer knew within his own experience as sort of she's not very sexual. She's called the Parthenos. That's a very rare Greek noun in OS that's feminine, that she's a virgin. But she's all over the Odyssey. And then, of course, the piece de resistance is Penelope, the loyal, dutiful, but not sulking little housewife home. Where's my husband? No, he's gone for 20 years, and her attitude is, I'm going to use all my brilliance to outsmart these stupid men, and I'm going to weave a rug every night. Finally, they gave me no choice, but as soon as I get done with this weaving project, I have to get married to one of them, and they'll steal the whole sustenance of the palace at Ithaca. So I'll just undo my weaving every night. And then when it's time to see, finally, she's the one that comes up with all of these tricks about the shooting the arrow with Odysseus. They shoot the arrow through the axe heads, and then when they finally get reconciled, she's the one that wants to test him. Why don't you move the bed, dear? I can't. Don't you know that? It's an olive tree. It's rooted. Oh, yes, I was just testing you. And then there's the wily Circe. What a witch, but she's a proud. Maybe Homer saw one of women like that. She defined her own sexuality. She thought if pigs are pigs, men are chauvinist pigs, I'll turn them into pigs with my supernatural powers. And she does that. And then maybe when he sees Calypso, he finds a woman. Maybe Homer knew a woman that just said, I'm going to stake out my own 40 acres. I don't need anybody. I'm completely independent. And that's Calypso. She has her own island, and she basically makes Odysseus her sex slave for 7 years. And he cries he goes, "Oh, I want to go home. Please let me home." No, no, no. Get back in here I got to service you. That's basically the crude, she's told by Hermes she has to let him go. And then the big controversy, Jack, is she plays two roles, and the popular press have it wrong. And that is, she plays Helen and Clytemnestra. And they say, well, why does she play two roles? That's well, they were a funny group because King Agamemnon at Mycenae married Clytemnestra, and his brother Menelaus of Sparta married Helen, the sister of Clytemnestra. So she is playing two sisters. Where we get to the controversy very quickly is that she's described in the Odyssey as fair-skinned and the most beautiful woman in the world. And so people have said, well, she's not the actress that is playing the part is not fair-skinned. It's a deliberate effort not to make the actress look like what Homer intended. And then the controversy hit, and it's so multifaceted. Do you think people who do not look like the character that was intended by the producer, director, screenwriter, or novelist should look that way, or is that a appropriation of their intent? I.e., Shakespeare has Othello. Was it wrong for Sir Laurence Olivier to play Othello? Should it always be James Earl Jones because he is black? He's more of a Moor. Is it wrong for Audrey Hepburn? Remember the Unforgiven, Jack? John Huston Western, and she played very unconvincingly. She played a Native American that had been kidnapped. And then there was, I think, Burt Lancaster and Charles Bronson made a sub-career playing renegade Indian heroes.
Right. Yeah.
Is that wrong? If you think it's wrong, people of color have said it's wrong because they took roles that could have gone to people of color. And then you want to say, well, are those roles, their being Indian, is that essential to the role? So is Cochise or Geronimo or whatever, was he an Indian nationalist? If he is, it seems to me if you have Indian actors, that might be more convincing. And I'm looking now at some of the great movies that we've seen that had actual, Little Big Man had actual Indian authors, Indian actors. So did Clint Eastwood's, that movie. I'm trying to remember.
Not Hang 'em High.
No,
but,
it was
one.
It was.
Yeah.
I'll remember it in a minute.
Not the outlaw Josie Wales.
Yes, the outlaw Josie Wales. He had that
Yeah.
famous actor who was Native American,
Right.
and so there's a lot of them. I could go on. It's just a question is if the race of the actor is essential to the play, and without a portrayal of that, it affects the content. Then you probably should have that type of person in that role if you can. But if it's incidental, it doesn't really matter.